point where I am over self-love alone. I'm actually getting ready right now to record a podcast on keeping the promises you make to yourself. So that's going to be an episode of the Good Energy series. But right now I'm like, while I'm getting ready, let me just air out my grievances on the self-love space, which, by the way, is a space I was like an active consumer of, and like I just loved self-love. I loved all things self-love. And I think this is the case for a lot of people who love self-love. I was just so hard on myself for most of my life. And if you're someone who's very ambitious, you might also resonate with this. I just felt like I was way too hard on myself. And I felt like that wasn't helping me get results. Like me being so hard on myself, so kind of like militant, wasn't getting me where I wanted to go. And what's even worse is it was making me feel like shit. So I was feeling bad and not being where I wanted. So I'm like, what's the point? Like, let me just love myself and feel good, right? There's also a way to love yourself in a way that is just not conducive to getting to where you want to go. So there is a difference between self-love in the truest definition and what I feel like we've adopted as self-love. And it's really just a term that I learned recently called self-soothing. So I don't know if you all follow or have heard of Brown Girl Therapy, but she had this really, really interesting post about the difference between self-soothing and self-care. And the way that she defined it is that self-soothing, these are things that make you feel better in the moment. So if you're really stressed about work and you decide to just binge watch Netflix all day, which is totally something that I would do, or if you decide not to go to the gym because you're feeling really tired or stressed or overwhelmed and you just decide to, go out to eat or something. And these are things that do make you feel better in the moment, but they fall under self-soothing because you're just focused on momentary, like, relieving of your emotions. I was a self-soother, and what Brown Girl Therapy discusses is that for a lot of communities of color, they don't have time for real self-care. Like, they just need to figure out how to make themselves feel better about their circumstances. A lot of times it's like a class issue too. Like, if you can't afford certain things that are truly self-care, which I'll describe in a second, then self-soothing might be the only thing you learned how to do. Self-care, based on how she just defined it, are things that are actually aligned with your long-term goals. So if I have a goal of being healthier, then real self-care is going to the gym. But when we think about self-care and even like what we see on social media, it's like going to get your Starbucks and going to do a bubble bath and whatever. It's all like feel good stuff, when in reality, like, a lot of self-care is going to the doctor, getting a checkup, going to the gym, getting a workout in. And those things don't necessarily feel good in the moment, but they're putting you on the path to get the thing that you want. How does self-love play out into all of this? Self-love is just like this saturated space. And like I said, I came from a world where I was being so hard on myself. There was no self-love, there was no self-care. It was all just being judgmental, beating myself up, thinking I'm not good enough. So I thought that the immediate solution would be to get to a place where I'm like obsessed with myself and just telling myself that it's okay, it's all gonna work out. And while I think that that's good in certain situations, I don't think we should be telling ourselves it's okay to not show up for ourselves. I don't think we should be self-soothing in moments where we're not doing what's best for us. The reality of the situation is that self-loving without the accountability that I truly needed was also not getting me results. So here I was between two things, being too hard on myself and being too soft on myself, really. And neither of those two things were getting me results. Sure, I felt better in the moment with the softer approach, but it didn't solve the problem of the thing that was actually not making me feel good. So I was still keeping myself stuck on this path of long-term not feeling good. So what I want to introduce to you today is what I'm starting to call tough self-love. Sounds a lot like tough love. And if you're someone who already just knows that tough love is not your style, this might not be for you. Like, this is not for everyone, but I'm telling you right now, it's for me, and it might also be for you. If you're someone who does respond well to tough love, if you're the type of person that is very ambitious, very goal-oriented, you maybe played sports or competed in something and you wanted people to push you, like you didn't want to be told that it's okay to lose. You didn't want to be told that it's okay to settle. Like, you liked being yelled at if it came from a place of love. And this might resonate a lot with Arab baddies or like children of immigrants, because a lot of us did have caretakers that expressed their love in a very like passionate way. I don't want to say aggressive because I don't think it was aggressive. I just think there's a lot of passion and like desire behind it. And every time I think back on like a couple mentors that I've had back when I was a teacher, even the way my dad used to mentor me, my mom, like there was a lot of tough love. And mind you, like people in my family don't all react the same to that. Like I know my little sister doesn't like tough love. I love it. Like it just makes me feel like you expect a lot out of me, and nothing makes me feel more loved than feeling like you have really high expectations for me and are channeling that into like pushing me. And I stumbled on this video years ago when I was first kind of in the phase of my life where I thought that self-love needed to just be soft and like rainbows and butterflies. And it was actually a Will Smith video. And I remember he was saying that like to him, the self-love is equivalent to accountability. And he'll talk to himself. If he has a goal of losing weight, he'll talk to himself and say, no, man, like I love you too much to let you eat that pizza. Like I love you so much, you're not doing that. Let's not do that. And I remember being so inspired by that video because it was the first time I'd ever heard someone talk about self-love through the lens of accountability, or self-love through the lens of anything but just unconditionally accepting yourself. And if you're ambitious, something about unconditionally loving yourself doesn't feel good. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't theoretically unconditionally love yourself, but sometimes it feels a lot like complacency. And I remember I had posted something once, this was not too long ago, I think like 2019 or 2020, while I was in business school, saying like, oh, like these are my body goals. And it was an old picture of me. Like it's not like I was posting someone else's body and wanting that. I was posting an old picture of me, and it was like, 10, 15 pounds away from where I was at the time. And this girl that I was friends with swiped up on the story like, you should be your body goals right now. And it really bothered me because it's like, why have we interpreted the self-love movement to the point where we're taking away agency from people? We're almost telling people that they should be ashamed to want something different because they should just unconditionally accept and love where they're at. Like I can love myself and feel that I'm worthy no matter what, but also want something different. And that doesn't mean anything bad. It doesn't mean like I'm unhealthy mentally. It just means I want something. And I feel like the self-love space has kind of added too much weight to some of the goals that we want. And it's kind of made certain things have to mean more than they do. Like it doesn't mean that I hate myself if I want to lose 15 pounds. It just means I want to lose 15 pounds. And why can't that just be what I want? So that's kind of my issue with self-love without that accountability that I'm seeing. I honestly fully agree with the way that Will Smith defined it in that video. I think that self-love should really translate to accountability, but I also think a lot of times words become mainstream, they kind of lose their meaning, and which is why I feel the need to really add the word tough in front of it. And I'll give you an example of how it looks like in my life and whether this is something you could see yourself applying, because the second I decided to switch my mindset from just self-love alone and self-compassion by any means necessary to self-love, tough self-love, aka accountability, I have started to get results in my career, because my two biggest goals right now are my body, like losing weight, and progressing in my career. I want to start creating more consistently. I want to have a platform. I want to be a serial entrepreneur. These are things that I very deeply desire. And in the past, I was just kind of like self-loving my way through it. Like, it's okay. If you get to the gym today, it's good. I love you. If you don't, I still love you. And it's like, no, girl, it's not okay. I still love you, but it's not okay. Stop telling yourself it's okay. So I have a goal right now of working out 5 times a week. It's something I've built up to. I didn't start off like that, but I first started with 3 and then 4, and then now I'm at 5, and I've been very consistent with that for the past month. The other morning, and this literally happened this past week, I was snoozing my butt off. I had slept pretty late the night before. It was during the weekend, and I'm like a master persuader. I can literally persuade myself in and out of anything, which is why it's so dangerous to tell yourself it's okay. Because if you're someone who can justify anything you do, you're always going to do the path of least resistance, because why else? If you're going to tell yourself it's okay whether you do or not, then like why not do the hard thing and also say it's okay? Like there's no consequence. So I was trying to do that to myself, where I'm like, it's okay, you don't have to work out today, you've done it all week, you already have 4 workouts this week, it's okay, like it's fine, you can snooze. And my workout is literally like a 15-minute walk, and they don't let you come in late. I work out at Orange Theory, they're usually very strict. So it was like literally approaching the 20-minute mark, where the class was starting in 20 minutes, and if I didn't get my ass up right there and then, I was gonna be late. And my like brain kind of knew that, so I was trying to like convince myself up until that 15-minute point, so that it wouldn't even be my choice whether I can make it or not. And then this thought dawned on me of like, oh my God, it's the end of the week, which means today is day 5, which means if I do not go today, this is the last class of the day, if I do not go today, you will let yourself down. You will literally break your promise. And the episode I'm about to shoot actually is about like keeping the promises you make to yourself, which is another thing I've been huge on. And it's like, you will literally be breaking this week's promise. It doesn't matter that you went for 4 days. Like you said you wanted 5 a week, and that's what you've been doing. You don't have a real reason. It's not like you're injured. You just don't feel like it. And if you don't get your ass up, that means you're literally breaking the promise that you made to yourself. And that doesn't sit well with me, and that is not okay. So I literally, you couldn't even ask Ahmed, I popped up out of bed. Like I literally popped up like a freaking, whatever those things are, Jack in the Box. Like that's how I flew up out of the bed. Ahmed also flew up with me because he's walking me to my workouts. That's his like support for me. And I got up out of that bed, and I was just so, the amount of like self-worth and pride that came out of keeping the promise I made to myself and telling myself it is not okay. It is not okay. Yes, I love myself in this bed just as much as I love myself on that treadmill, but it is not, don't tell yourself that it's okay to not do what you said you were going to do. And it's all about your self-talk, and it's all about shifting that voice in your head to one that is loving, but in a very accountable, like big sister, coach, mentor type of way, where they know your potential and they're not gonna let you settle. So if you're somebody who's also very ambitious and it hasn't felt good in the past to just say it's okay, or to just say like, I love you no matter what you do or don't do, like if that hasn't felt good, that's okay. That's because you are ambitious and you understand that saying that to yourself means that you're settling, and that's not an act of love. That doesn't feel loving. People like us, we feel loved when we feel like we're expecting a lot out of each other. I don't know, I'm gonna struggle to think of a specific example, but like, I know that there have been times in the past where if I knew I messed up on something, or if I knew I didn't do something as well as I could have, just out of sheer like carelessness or not putting in that effort, and someone accepted that, it would make me wonder whether they actually believed in me or not. So when you're accepting for yourself to not show up the way that you know you can, it feels like you don't have high expectations for yourself, and that's just not a good feeling. Even the way that I've learned to start talking to myself at the gym, like now that I'm running and I'm trying to push myself, and every single workout for me is a matter of like pushing myself, just so I can continue to reinforce that identity that like, I am someone who works my ass up. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who pushes myself. The way that I talk to myself when I'm hitting those sprints, like I will literally, it's like kind of cringy. Like I'll be like, come on, let's go. Like as if I'm literally coaching myself. Sometimes I cuss myself out, but I also praise myself just as much as I push myself. And I think that's literally the summary of this entire episode, is tough self-love needs to have a balance of pressure with the praise. On one end, if you're just doing pressure, you're just being hard on yourself, and that doesn't feel good. You're not gonna like beat yourself up into your goals, and even if you could do that, you're not gonna ever feel good about yourself. But also, on the other end, if you're just praising yourself no matter what you do, there's no motivation or incentive to show up, because you're just gonna treat yourself the same regardless whether you showed up for yourself or not, and you're not going to get results like that. So my proposition is to also, implement this process. Praise yourself when you deserve it, push yourself throughout, but like shower yourself with praise when you do show up for yourself, because you are going to become addicted to that feeling of just making yourself proud and making yourself feel like you did what you said you were going to do, which completely leads into the episode that I'm about to record right now It's part of the Good Energy podcast, and it's called Good Promises. And I want to teach you exactly how to make the right promises to yourself, because there is a way to kind of backfire it. I literally use eyeshadow as highlighter. I don't know if anyone else does that. I'm also not like a makeup girly, but I like how it looks on me. I haven't found a highlighter that I feel actually highlights my skin tone, and I might just not be using it the right way, but this is the Anastasia Soft Glam 2, and I use the Dreamer, and I just use a little bit, and as you can see, it just gives me that cute little highlighted look that I like. So, not me giving out makeup tips. Nobody would have ever predicted that. So if you're looking to just have this, like, to really hone that voice in your head around tough self-love, sometimes you need other people to help you with that. I would really surround yourself around people who can do that for you. One person for me is Ahmed. I'm not gonna lie, I would fight with him a lot at first because I just wasn't used to it, and I felt like I was judging myself and he was judging me, and it just wasn't, I needed to like ease into letting him be that voice for me, especially because we live together. Another person is my older brother, and because we don't live together and I only see him a couple times a year, I feel like I could handle it a lot more. But they're both very like, no nonsense, get your ass up, go to the gym, come on, let's go. And I know that they love me. I know how much they love me. They love me so much, so I can receive it from them without being offended by it. Another couple people that I listen to on YouTube that I love is, as of very recently, Leo Skepi. He's hilarious. He literally has this episode called Lack of Discipline Makes You Ugly. So if you can even just tell by his title and his bluntness, that's kind of the style that he speaks in. And then one of my favorite YouTubers is the Wizard Liz. She also has a very no-nonsense, big sis, I'm gonna tell you how you don't want to hear it, but how you need to hear it type style. So I would listen to Leo Skepi, definitely Wizard Liz. Drop any other recommendations below, because I'm always looking for people to like reinforce that voice in my head. Even if what they're saying is stuff I already know, it's just helpful to have another voice echo the voice that you want to emulate in your head, so that you're not telling yourself it's okay to not show up for yourself. Those are a great place to start. But drop a comment and let me know what you think. Is tough self-love something that you feel you can start incorporating into your toolkit to help you do what you want to do? It has transformed my life. I have never, ever been this consistent with anything that I've ever wanted to do. Because I never tell myself it's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. So that even when I do mess up, because I do mess up because I'm human, I never go to sleep feeling like it was okay. I just went to sleep feeling like, okay, I did that, I messed up, and I'll talk about that in the promises episode of like what to do when you fall off. Just make sure that you never tell yourself that it's okay. That doesn't mean you beat yourself up. That just means you don't ever feel like it's okay, and you don't give yourself the reward of that feeling of accomplishment because you didn't do what you needed to do to deserve it. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now. I need to do something with this hair, and then I'm gonna go record that podcast, which I hope you tune into that too. I love you so much. I'm so excited to create more tough self-love content. Drop a comment letting me know what has resonated the most with you, and if this is something that you're gonna try out.